Welcome back to Yanks Abroad. We're going to do something a little different today. We're going to react to a video asking, is the United States of America soccer running out of time? I have not watched this, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to watch it, react immediately to it, have a conversation. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's get right into it.
The U.S. is about to host the biggest sporting event on the planet, but kids in America grow up dreaming about lifting the Lombardi Trophy or playing in the NBA Finals. Yet kids around the world, all they want to do is represent their country in the World Cup final. So we're here at the CONCACAF Nations semifinal today, which will be a teaser into what could become of that team. A new coach after a poor performance at Copa America. A team filled with young stars who are performing well in Europe but have yet to put it together for their nation. 2 World Cups ago, when they were young, they didn't even qualify for the tournament. And just last World Cup, while they got through the group, they were knocked out swiftly in the round of 16. Why is it so important that they put on an impressive performance at the World Cup? Back in 1994, the U.S. hosted the World Cup, which led to incredible growth here in the States. And the youth participation skyrocketed to over 4.5 million kids. Lionel Messi, the greatest player in soccer history, plays here in Miami, Florida. MLS teams have ballooned from $100 million valuations to over $1 billion per team. So do you feel the pressure? The pressure on the golden generation is so high, and the future of is this country a soccer nation depends on their performance at that World Cup. So we're gonna go in and
Okay, first initial thoughts about the first minute. A couple of things. Number one, I would agree, yes, not every kid in the United States dreams of lifting the World Cup versus the Lombardi Trophy, but I actually don't think that's an issue. I think it's the wrong kids are not dreaming of the World Cup as an opportunity because we have the problem of pay to play in this country for the sport of soccer. The kids who maybe are the most athletic or have the most interest in being athletes aren't given the opportunity to go and try and play this sport, or aren't seen or aren't given the chance to go and try and play the sport, aren't around people who want to go and play the sport. There are plenty of kids in this country. I'm 99% sure that soccer is the most played sport amongst the youth in this country. The issue is, where is the gap between that and actually taking it to the next level, whether it be club soccer, whether it be playing for your high school, playing for college. That's the gap, that's the issue. And so, yes, this World Cup, the pressure is on because of that opportunity, and we need to take advantage of that opportunity. And I don't know that the MLS has anything to do with that. The MLS has its own issues of relegation and promotion. We saw Tyler Adams just talking about that this week, in fact, in terms of the relegation versus promotion battle in the MLS and why that's so important. We're seeing the USL go out and attack that. But the MLS valuations, they're getting higher because of TV rights deals. And they don't want to take that risk of relegation the way that we have it in the Premier League, right? The reason that the Premier League is the richest league in the world is strictly because of TV rights. And so the reason why teams are so scared of relegation to the championship and below is the $140 million difference guaranteed between playing in the Premier League and playing in the championship. That keeps valuations of British soccer teams at a much lower number because of that ability to go down. U.S. owners, MLS owners don't want to take that risk where, we have a couple of bad years. There's no such thing as rebuilding. We get relegated. Then we have this massive stadium. We have this huge amount of dollars that we're spending. But we are in the USL where there's no viewership, there's no TV rights deals, et cetera, et cetera. That is why we saw the bringing of the Super League over to Europe by mostly, obviously, the big clubs in Spain and whatnot, but in the Premier League, it was the American investors who were interested in the Super League because it's an Americanized version of the sport where there's no threat of relegation. That's a bit of a tangent off of what was going on. But yes, this World Cup, that is where the pressure is. This is our chance, not necessarily to go win the World Cup, but to show how great this sport is, the fanfare of it, how much fun it is to watch, the electricity of how matches can go back and forth, this Cinderella story of a team that isn't as good winning and going further on, the beauty of the game. That is why this is such an important World Cup, and why it was important that Greg Berhalter wasn't the manager, and why I liked the Pochettino hire to begin with, because he plays an attacking style of football. He's creative. He wants to go show you the beautiful game. He doesn't want to sit back and, hit you on the counterattack only. Yes, there are times when that works, but he wants to possess the ball. He wants to show off the beauty of this sport, and that is crucial. Let's keep watching here.
and investigate, is Team USA ready? And will we change the future of soccer in America forever? So the burning question is the US even ready to host the World Cup? And in my opinion, the answer is easily yes. We have the infrastructure. We've got incredible stadiums and arenas all across the United States and in North America too. But the real question is, are the fans ready? Over the summer, we hosted Copa America and there were empty stadiums throughout. Meanwhile, our counterparts in Europe had the Euros, where the saxophonist captivated a nation of Germany. You had fans crying in the streets over wins and losses. And then we're here today, and we're under 2 hours to kick off, and look around. You couldn't even tell there's a match going on today. So the other key part is, do people even care about soccer here in the United States?
Okay, let's talk about that. Do people care about soccer here in the United States? Yes. Again, though, we're talking about access and knowing that there are matches going on. I don't see enough promotion of these matches. I don't mean CBS promoting, here is the match. I mean sports, ESPN, Fox Sports talking about it on their daily shows. You want a sport to grow? The media needs to cover that sport. It's good for both sides of the row here, right? If soccer becomes a bigger sport, ESPN then has another product it can go and spend dollars on to generate ad revenue and say to, the NBA, okay, we're seeing soccer at this price giving us this much ad revenue. We'd like to pay less for the NBA. It's good for both sides of the coin. And that's, to me, is the biggest issue. Yes, we need more fans out there. And listen, if the United States were awesome at the sport, I think we get there faster, but we're not going to be a top 10 country in the world at the sport in the next 4 years, in the next 8 years, in the next 12 years. That's not likely. It's not possible. But fans could get involved in different ways. And I think it's the same concept as the pay to play for the youth. It's so hard to access this sport here in this country. People don't know about when it's happening, where it's happening. What does it mean? What are we playing for? Even if we're not playing for anything huge, what is it? Explain it to us. Think about when I use this example all the time in sports because I think it's an incredible showcasing of how important it is for people to understand a sport. When hockey took a team to Nashville, they hosted at Bridgestone Arena. I'm not sure it's still called that, but it was called Bridgestone Arena. They hosted basically teaching sessions of the rules of hockey, the importance of each thing, strategy, all sorts of different things so that the fans weren't just going for the fanfare of being at a sporting event, so that they could get behind the team and understand the positives and negatives of what's going on the ice. We need to do that in this country. We need to educate people about why it's such a great sport. And the U.S. Soccer Federation is just not interested in spending that dollar. They're so worried about their own pockets. They're not interested in the long-term growth of the sport, or they're not putting enough effort towards that. Let's hop back in.
The United States. It's U.S. versus Panama today, and my prediction for the crowd, I think it could be 50-50. Will it even be sold out? This is a semifinal match. So a lot of questions need to be answered just here today, and that has nothing to do with the on-field performance, which we'll talk about when we get inside. Where are you from?
By the way, and I don't think this is as big of a problem as everyone else says. I don't mind the fact that when we play CONCACAF matches, it's 50-50. Like when we play Mexico, when we play Canada, Panama, Costa Rica, whoever it might be, Jamaica, great. The more fans, the better. The better the atmosphere, the better. Sometimes a ruckus away atmosphere is the best part of a soccer match. That's part of the sport. We just need people in the seats and energy to be created, because you then turn on the TV for these Nations League matches that just happened. Even if you don't care about who wins, there's no energy in the stadium. It feels like you're watching a COVID match, and it just feels weird. You don't want to stick around. But if you turned it on and it's like, oh, this is in Los Angeles, and there's 30,000 Panama fans there and 10,000 American fans. This is insane. Like, it's so loud. What an atmosphere. I'd love to go and see this. Like, that is part of the enjoyment of sports, is the fanfare. It doesn't matter what side of the fanfare we're at. Let's get back in.
From Mexico.
And where do you live now?
Oxnard, California.
Do you think the U.S. is ready to host the World Cup?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. Actually, I think it has grown in the last 5-10 years. It's grown so big that I think they have an opportunity. There's a big opportunity for them to show, to grow. So we can show the world of what we have.
And you're saying we, but you're in the Mexico.
Actually, my daughter, she was born here, so she's probably going to play with the USA. She's been playing soccer since she was 5 years old. She wants to play professional, but she's going to play with the USA.
Do you think other American kids grow up with a dream of playing for Team USA, or they want to play other sports?
50-50.
Yeah.
50-50.
But you think this World Cup?
That's another thing that's a key thing to note, is that the sport is growing amongst youth girls at an extraordinary rate, and they've done an excellent job of building that fanfare up, making it an empowering sport, and really leveraging the fact that we're so dominant at the sport So now the men need to find their counterpart to that. They need to find a way to leverage it as a powerful thing, as an opportunity. We don't have as many of the best athletes in the world. This is an opportunity for you to become a professional athlete by pursuing soccer. And that's a way of, competing with the likes of all the kids who want to be NBA stars and whatnot.
I mean, Mexico, there's probably 20-to-1 ratio here of Mexico to USA fans. We don't even play Mexico. They're in the second game, and that's in 5 hours from now. Hopefully we can find some Team USA fans look into, their excitement around the World Cup. Today is March Madness for the majority of Americans, but you guys seem to feel differently. Where's the passion come from for U.S. soccer?
I mean, I grew up watching U.S. soccer back when we had like Dempsey and Donovan and all of them. So to see them kind of grow up, I grew up watching 16-year-old Christian Pulisic perform.
It's the golden generation, right?
Making soccer in the U.S. good again. Like, we're good at all these other sports, but we're not good at soccer, but I feel like it's changing now.
So that's the question that we're trying to solve today.
I also think that's worth noting, and I think Dempsey and Donovan have spoken about this quite a bit. I think Dempsey's a lot better spoken. I think Donovan, respectfully, although he was one of my favorite players ever, I think he's a little bit bitter for some strange reason about the way that this generation is talked about, but there is a lack of passion. Like Clint Dempsey, I wanted to bleed for Clint Dempsey. The way that he fought through injury, he obviously was an incredible Premier League player, kind of for lower level. I mean, for Fulham, he was one of their best players the last 25 years. But the way that they bled for this country and worked their asses off, and it meant something for them to play for the United States, it's different than what we're seeing. And I think that that's kind of part of the issue that we're having with the whole concept of the U.S. soccer's future, right? It's like Christian Pulisic, and I do think Pulisic bleeds for the U.S., but some of these other names like Weston McKennie, like they move over so quickly to these academies and are so worried about growing, at Schalke or at Dortmund or at Leipzig that I think a lot of the time there's that the pinnacle of their careers in their heads is no longer to play for their country, where it is even in England, where the biggest clubs in the world are. You ask any of those players, the pinnacle of their career would be to win a major trophy with England. And I don't think Weston McKennie would say that because it's not something that they see as possible. And so where is the line of, I want to win the World Cup, that not being possible, and I can still be a successful player for the United States men's national team, right? Like Dempsey and Donovan never really got further than the round of 16 in the World Cup, but we all think of them as heroes. I think this crop of this golden generation are so focused on the fact that they don't think there's no way that they're going to win the World Cup, which is realistic, that they don't know that there's a level of success that would be what a bar they've set. There is. Working hard, winning matches, getting to the round of 16, working hard in the round of 16, creating goals. Like that World Cup team that lost to Belgium, like Chris Wondolowski, I'll never forgive him for that miss, but everyone else is thought of as a hero, like Kyle Beckerman, Jermaine Jones, Matt Beasler, DeMarcus Beasley, like the rest of those guys on this team, those are American heroes of this sport. They didn't win anything, but they fought, and they showed what we can achieve next. They started this chain of events. This next golden generation, their job isn't to go win the World Cup. Their job is to continue that. Their job is to continue working hard for this country and showing, especially at a time of turmoil in this country, for better or for worse, or whatever your political views are, it's obviously a very disrupting time right now, is to give us something to all get behind. And it's going to be here in a year for them to do that. They're going to need to show that, and that will win this country over. That's all that it takes.
How important is the World Cup for that growth?
I think it's super important if we want to get a younger generation to start playing and start investing in the development. As soccer as a big time sport, then it's important for the USMNT to show out in Nations League, Gold Cup leading all the way up to the World Cup, and then do good in the World Cup, Why not?
What would winning the Nations League, right? They got to win today and then win on Sunday. Right. What would that mean to you as a fan?
It'll get to show a lot of these guys that don't play a lot, like Josh Sargent, right? It'll be cool to see him hopefully show out today, and finally we solidify a number 9 because it's up for grabs right now. So I think it'll be important for a lot of these younger players or newer players to the team to show out and really solidify their positions and Pochettino's roster.
If there's any question over whether the U.S. is ready to host a World Cup, look at this venue. This is night and day from the 2022 Qatar disaster. SoFi is stunning. This view,
By the way, not that this is even important, but the reason the World Cup is coming here, one of the main reasons is obviously the infrastructure is not a problem here. It's the easiest place to host a World Cup. There are dozens of cities that could host multiple matches, have the infrastructure, have plenty of hotels, all the necessary things, nightlife, activation, spot for activations. Like the commercial side of this is an easy one. That's why the U.S. is poised to do this.
I would rather USA win the World Cup than any of my favorite teams. The Ravens win the Super Bowl. Texas wins the national championship. This is my dream, which is why I've put so much pressure on today.
I'm just going to go ahead and say right now that that's not, I don't agree with that. I'm sitting here doing on my free time. This is what I do. I talk about the U.S. men's national team. I wouldn't prefer that over other things, and that's fine. That shouldn't be the goal. Like I said this over and over again on this show. I've said it since the show began 18 months ago. The goal is never going to be to win the World Cup. It may not be in the next 20 years, the next 5 World Cups, that may not be the goal. That's not the goal. And I actually have this argument with Jack all the time about what goals of sports teams should be. We're both Knicks fans. I've been a Knicks fan my whole life. He's recently become a Knicks fan. My goal every year is not to win the NBA Finals. Yes, that would be amazing, but it's a matter of taking steps in the right direction and getting the chance to be a fan. The chance to be a fan for a sports team is the best feeling in the world. The roller coaster of emotions. You want to feel the ups, the downs, all of it. It's a part of being sports fandom. That's what I want from the U.S. men's national team. The feeling that we're going to go out there and maybe we'll go up a goal. Maybe we'll go down a goal. Maybe we'll go up 2 goals. They'll come back. Then we'll score late. Maybe we'll destroy England or we'll destroy Germany out of nowhere, like a shock win. Like those are the things that I want to see. I'm not going to go out. I don't want to have these unrealistic expectations that we could go win the World Cup. Like, yeah, if we win the World Cup, this sport will explode in this country more than ever before, yada, yada, yada. But I don't want to think about the unrealistic side of that. And I think the key leading up to this World Cup of the media is to not talk about that. That is not a real thing. A real thing is this team's going to show you what it means to play soccer for this country, what it means to host a World Cup in this country, what it means to have the fans behind them, and where that can take them to the next step so that, yes, one day we could win a World Cup. That's the goal of this World Cup. The goal is not to win it. It's to show this country what this sport means to the players, and then that will radiate to sports fans everywhere. I mean, you watch any team that you like, when they're putting in 100% effort, that emotional tug that hits your heart, whether it's a win or a loss, is what brings you back over and over and over again. I know that that's how I feel about Arsenal, the Knicks, the Giants. I've never felt more disconnected from the Giants than I have over the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't mean the last 8 years that we've been bad, but just the last 3 or 4 years, the constant in and out of players who I don't feel care to play for the New York Giants. But listen, when we stunk with Eli Manning, it still pulled on my heartstrings because I knew Eli Manning wanted to be a Giant and wanted to win in New York. It's the same idea, just over to the United States men's national team. It doesn't need to be go win the World Cup. It needs to be play for your country and show us what that means so that the younger generation, this generation, my generation, wants to support you every single time you're out on the pitch.
Today and the future in the World Cup, because this will change the generation of soccer in America and actually give us a chance. The expectation for the 2026 World Cup is like a quarterfinal, a semifinal would be a dream. No one's expecting us to win the World Cup. But if we go to a semifinal, kids will grow up with that dream of winning the World Cup, and then you get the training, you get the investment. And 20 years from now, there might not even be a kid born that could be playing in the World Cup, that could be a superstar. I'm upset. Like, we are 10 minutes from kickoff, and look at this stadium. 12% capacity. Look at the American Outlaws. That is the saddest demonstration I have ever seen.
I mean, I said this on our live stream when we were watching this match, but the biggest issue about the lack of fans is that it's a two-way street. Yes, the players need to show out and play hard for us to want to support them, but there's such a limited amount of times to go see the games. Imagine being Fuller and Balogun, doesn't spend a lot of time here, decides to play for the United States men's national team, comes and plays his first match, and the stadium's at 12% capacity. You're not going to feel like you want to get injured and miss club season for this. You're not going to work your hardest. It goes both ways, and we need fans out there. And it's the responsibility of everyone, the fans, the players, the U.S. Soccer Federation, to make that happen. But it feels like a training match if you're a player and there's no fans in the stadium. And that's why we lost those Nations League matches, I can promise you.
High school football games have a crazier fan section. I'm not saying those fans lack passion. I'm saying the fact that they can barely fill half of a section, it makes me sad. We have so much work to do, and we've only got 15 months to do it. This needs to look completely different at the World Cup.
I
told you guys that today would be a little appetizer into the World Cup in 26. And this was my word. This is what it would look like if we want to ruin the chance that USA would ever be a soccer nation. 0-0 first half. US is supposed to be dominating Panama. It's just been an unimpressive performance. And we're healthy. We're playing everyone. And it's a competitive match. And this is
Well, just to be clear, we were not healthy. We were missing 4 or 5 starters, as spoken about a lot. And again, the stadium was dead. The atmosphere was dead. The play was dead. Yes, all these things all need to be solved at once. It's not going to be able to be a domino effect. I don't care if the U.S. went out and won that match 5-0 against Panama. That wasn't going to get fans in the seats. There needs to be orchestration from the U.S. Soccer Federation. There needs to be more posting, more ability. Get fans in the seats. It's better to get fans in the seats for free and then buy concessions than to have this few fans in there. Get kids at the stadiums. Instead of this pay to play, okay, let's say you have to pay to play to be on a club team in the United States. Well, you know what? Let's get every club team within a 20-mile radius to the stadium so kids can see what it's like to play for the United States men's national team. Let's try these types of things. Get people in the seats. And then you know what? The people at home watching will be like, oh, that looks incredible. Dad, can you take me to the next game? The next game's on Sunday. Unbelievable. Let's go watch the third place game just so we can say we were at a U.S. men's national team game ahead of the World Cup. Like, these are the types of things that need to be taking steps forward to help this atmosphere so that the U.S. men's national team has a better chance at winning these matches.
What number match did you say this was?
This is 98 for me for the men's national team.
And you travel around the world following the team?
Yes, sir. Been traveling around the world for years now, home and away, both.
What's the best atmosphere you've ever seen?
Hands down, Columbus, Ohio, any competitive match versus Mexico. USA, Mexico, it's been unreal. Nothing compared.
On that note, yes, there was a lot of complaint that there's too many matches in Ohio. There's too many matches in the middle of America. The matches should be wherever the fans are. If all the best fans that love this team who are willing to go to matches is in Columbus, Ohio, then that should be our home stadium. Like, we're so focused about all the wrong things with this sport in this country. This whole point of this sport in England, the home of football, is centered around the idea that every little town, every neighborhood has a team that has fans that show up to every game, that travel to every away game. That's the whole concept of this sport. It's supposed to be about community building. It's supposed to be about togetherness, standing and cheering. It's not it's not supposed to be about the commercial aspect of the sport. So let's do that. Let's really buy into the sport. That's our best chance.
When we set out to film this video, I knew that the stadium wasn't going to be packed. I wasn't sure how the U.S. would play. This is what I fear in 15 months from now. Because this would ruin any progress that U.S. soccer has made over the last 30 plus years.
That is the truest thing said in this whole video, yeah. If we were to get grouped and be in an easy group with the likes of someone like Panama, we get 1.3 matches, that will destroy the sport in this country to a place where I'm not sure how we bounce back. It'll kill the MLS because Messi will be on his way out the door. It'll kill the growth of U.S. men's national teams, rise in the rankings. It'll kill the growth of youth soccer in this country because a whole generation of people who has been living for this potential of hosting a World Cup, living for the potential of this golden generation hosting the World Cup, for it all to be basically a lie, for those who are not informed and watching on a week-to-week basis like me and most of you watching this video, and hopefully some new fans, yes, that will destroy the sport in this country. And that's a big fear. It's a risk-reward situation hosting a World Cup because it does come with that risk. I don't think that the reward was very high from us making the round of 16 in the last World Cup in Qatar. It was at a weird time of year that nobody really expected it to be, not being in the summer, weird hours of the day. It didn't have the hype that a World Cup always necessarily has for the U.S. men's national team, especially after missing the one prior. But it doesn't have the risk that, if we had gotten grouped, it would have hurt this country. Getting grouped in the World Cup will be detrimental to the growth of the sport in this country. It'll be detrimental to my mental health. And to many of you watching. So all we can do is hope and pray that that won't happen. And I urge anyone with the opportunity to try and go to a match, who cares about this U.S. men's national team, to cheer them on because they need it. And they need to show us that we need to cheer for them this coming summer at the Gold Cup. They need to bleed, sweat, cry, work their asses off at the Gold Cup this summer. I don't want to just lollipop our way through. I want to show that this team means business, no matter who it is out there, whether it's Pulisic and the rest of the golden generation or just the Americans, because the truth of the matter is, even if he does call up a lot of MLS players, the average fan's not going to know the difference. What they're going to see is whether they're going to see players fighting for our country's flag on the pitch in a sport that they don't know much about. And if they do, that will attract more and more fans.
Inexcusable, unacceptable, embarrassing. The U.S. just lost to Panama. Their home turf in a game that they were favored. I don't know. Well, it's 4 hours from when we filmed the introduction of this video. And the point of this video was to show you how the US was making progress and how much was at stake in the 2026 World Cup. I did not imagine that would be the result of today's stuff. Completely empty stadium, 0-0 to the 94th minute. A loss to Panama, an embarrassing effort. It's frightening of what the World Cup could look like here in 2026. But in life, sometimes you need to be knocked down and then get back up. And I'm hoping that the lesson learned today, we'll be able to look back on 15 months from now and it'll have been a blessing.
The premise of that video was, is USA Soccer running out of time? Depends what you mean by time, but the short answer is no. The time that will be run out is if what I just said happens at the next World Cup. That's when we've run out of time. We have 15 months. Listen, the Nations League was never going to move the needle. Was it very upsetting to watch? Was it embarrassing? Was it a waste of time for a lot of us fans? Yes, all of those are true. But has USA Soccer run out of time? Is it running out of time? No. They've got the right hire in there. Somebody who wants to play an attractive style of football. Somebody who wants to showcase the beautiful game. Somebody whose coaching legacy is yet to be cemented and has an opportunity to change his legacy for the better in one of the biggest countries in the world with the most power in the world. This is a generation that's been touted as the golden generation and doesn't want to be remembered the way that this Belgian generation will be remembered by their country as a letdown. It wants to change the way that this country views this sport. And so, no, we have not run out of time. We're not running out of time. But if we're sitting here in July of 2026, watching a video that's asking this question, we have run out of time. The U.S. men's national team has 15 months to right this ship and to prove to all of us that we're not wasting our time, believing in this dream that we've all had for 15, 20, 28 years for me, my whole life. Every single time there's been a World Cup, I've been dying to watch every second of the U.S. men's national team. Anytime the U.S. men's national team has played a match, I want to watch it. And I want to share that with other sports fans who haven't bought in yet. And so, no, we're not running out of time. There are sports fans everywhere ready for this, excited to watch. So let's prove them wrong. Thank you, Snapback Sports, for a great video. Happy to have reacted to it. If you're new to this channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let me know what you think. Have we run out of time? Do we have the chance? What do we need to fix? All of the above. We're going to talk about this, I'm sure, every week for the next 15 months. Hopefully not too much. But again, hit the subscribe button. And thanks so much for watching Yanks Abroad.